Captain Elena Vasquez stood at the viewing window of Station Kepler 9, staring at what the Galactic Coalition called humanity's welcome gift. Her reflection in the glass showed a woman in her early 40s, tired eyes and a jaw set in determination. Behind her, the rest of her crew pressed forward to see what awaited them. What they saw was garbage. Mountains of it. The salvage yard stretched for miles in the cold vacuum of space. Twisted metal hulls floated in organized rows. Burned-out reactor cores the size of buildings drifted past. Weapon systems with barrels melted from overuse tumbled slowly in the darkness. This was 50 years of diplomatic effort. 50 years of humanity begging for a place among the stars. And this was their reward. Is this a joke? Marcus Chen, her chief engineer, asked. His voice was flat, emotionless. That was how Marcus dealt with anger. He got quiet. No joke, Elena said. She kept her voice steady, professional. Inside, she wanted to scream. The door behind them hissed open. Ambassador Thelnax entered, his 6 legs clicking on the metal floor. He was an insectoid from the Krith Collective, his chitinous body gleaming under the station lights. His compound eyes reflected the image of the scrapyard in 1,000 tiny facets. Captain Vasquez, Thelnax said, his translator device rendering his clicks and whistles into flat, condescending words. I trust you find your allocation satisfactory? Elena turned to face him. She was tall for a human woman, but Thelnax still towered over her. Ambassador, we were told we would receive materials to build our first Coalition standard vessel. Indeed. Thelnax gestured toward the window with one of his many limbs. Everything you need is there. 700,000 tons of recyclable materials. Quite generous, actually. This is scrap metal, Marcus said, stepping forward. Decommissioned parts from ships that should have been melted down decades ago. Thelnax's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. All new species receive similar allocations. It is standard procedure. You will learn Coalition construction standards by examining these parts. You will learn proper recycling protocols. You will understand your place in the galactic community. Elena heard the message behind the words. Your place, at the bottom. How long have these parts been sitting here? She asked. Oh, various lengths of time. Thelnax waved a limb dismissively. Some pieces are from Krithian warships decommissioned 200 years ago. Others are more recent, Vexnar patrol craft from 80 years past. The Drell targeting computers are particularly old, nearly 3 centuries, but they are all functional more or less. Mixed technology from different species, Marcus said quietly. He was thinking now, Elena could tell. His anger was giving way to curiosity. Different engineering principles. Different power systems. Yes, well, the Coalition expects you to study them and then build according to current standards, Thelnax said, not to actually use such outdated components. That would be dangerous and foolish. Elena looked back at the scrapyard. In the harsh light of the station, she could see the differences now. Smooth organic curves of Krithian design, sharp angles and brutal efficiency of Vexnar construction, the crystalline structures of Azurian shielding technology, cracked but still gleaming. 7 different species, 7 different approaches to space warfare, all of it thrown away, deemed worthless. Behind Thelnax, 2 other aliens entered the observation deck. A Drell, serpentine and graceful, and a Vexnar, humanoid but covered in metallic scales. They were laughing. The rust collectors, the Drell hissed. That's what they're calling you humans. Did you know that? Appropriate, don't you think? The Vexnar added. You arrive in your primitive chemical rockets begging to join the Coalition, and what do you get? Rust and garbage. Perfect for a garbage species. Elena felt her crew tense behind her. Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka, her weapons officer, took a step forward. Elena raised a hand, stopping her. Thank you for the tour, Ambassador. Elena said coldly. We'll begin transport of the materials immediately. Thelnax bowed, a gesture he had learned from human customs but performed with obvious mockery. Of course. Your construction bay has been assigned at the edge of Coalition space, Sector 447, Dock Epsilon. Very private. We wouldn't want your experiments to endanger proper Coalition facilities. After they left, Elena's crew gathered around her. There were 20 of them. Engineers, pilots, weapons specialists, medical staff. The best humanity had to offer. They had trained for years for this moment, studied alien languages and customs, prepared to take humanity's place among the stars, and they had been given garbage. Captain, Marcus said carefully, Those parts out there? They're worthless individually. The Coalition is right about that. Different power systems, incompatible interfaces, outdated by centuries. But Elena knew her engineer. There was always a but. But they're from 7 different species, 7 completely different approaches to engineering. The Krithians use plasma-based power systems. The Vexnar use magnetic containment. The Azurians worked with crystalline matrices. Marcus was talking faster now, the way he did when an idea took hold. Separately, they're junk. But if someone could find a way to integrate them... The Coalition gave us scrap because they think we're too primitive to do anything with it, Yuki said. Her voice was sharp with anger. They want us to study it like children with broken toys, then build them some standard, boring ship that proves we can follow their rules. So what do we do? Asked Dr. Sarah Kim, the medical officer. Follow their rules? Prove we can be good little humans who know their place? Elena looked at her crew. She saw anger, yes, humiliation, disappointment. But she also saw something else. She saw the same stubborn defiance that had driven humanity from caves to space, from steam engines to fusion reactors, from sailing ships to starships. Humanity had always been good at one thing, taking what they had and making it into something better. We're going to take their garbage, Elena said slowly. And we're going to build something they've never seen before. Marcus grinned. You want to integrate the technologies. Combine them. They gave us parts from 7 different civilizations, Elena said. Each one built their ships a different way. Each one thought they had the best solution. What if they were all right? What if the best ship isn't built on one species' principles but all of them? It's never been done, Marcus said. But he wasn't arguing. He was calculating, planning. The power systems alone, Yuki added. Trying to run Krithian plasma through Vexnar magnetic coils would be impossible? Elena asked. Or just something no one's tried? The crew was silent for a moment. Then Marcus laughed. It was a short, sharp sound. They called us the rust collectors. They think we're garbage. Then let's show them what humans can do with garbage, Elena said. She turned back to the window, looking at the scrapyard with new eyes. It wasn't trash anymore. It was opportunity. It was possibility. It was every piece of alien technology humanity had ever dreamed of studying, all in one place, written off as worthless. We have 6 months before the Coalition expects a progress report, Elena said. Marcus, I want you to start cataloging everything out there. Yuki, start analyzing weapon systems. I don't care how old they are, I want to know how they work. Everyone else, your assignments are coming. We're going to that construction dock at the edge of space, and we're going to build something that will make the entire galaxy take notice. What are we going to call it? Someone asked. Elena smiled, her reflection in the window showing something predatory. The Prometheus. We're stealing fire from the gods. Outside, the scrapyard waited. Hundreds of thousands of tons of broken dreams and discarded technology. The Coalition saw waste. They saw failure. They saw the past. Elena Vasquez saw the future. The construction dock at Sector 447 was everything the Coalition promised it would be. Isolated, forgotten, and barely functional. It hung at the edge of Coalition space like a dying satellite, its lights flickering, its atmosphere processors wheezing with age. Perfect for hiding secrets. Elena walked through the main assembly bay, her boots echoing on the metal floor. Around her, her crew worked like ants in a hive, each person focused on their task. It had been 3 months since they arrived, 3 months of 18-hour days. 3 months of failures, explosions, and small victories. The Prometheus was taking shape. Captain, you need to see this, Marcus called from the reactor chamber. His voice carried an edge of excitement. Elena found him suspended in a safety harness, hanging upside down inside a massive cylindrical chamber. Cables and pipes spread around him like a metal spider web. In the center, 2 devices that should never have been connected pulsed with synchronized light. One blue, one red. Tell me that's what I think it is, Elena said. Marcus pulled himself upright, his face flushed with adrenaline. Krithian plasma coils connected to Vexnar magnetic field generators. It shouldn't work. Every simulation said it would explode. Every calculation said the magnetic fields would collapse. But, Elena asked, but I adjusted the frequency harmonics. The Krithians used a steady-state plasma flow. The Vexnar used pulsed magnetic containment. Separately, they're efficient. Together, they're... Marcus paused, searching for the word. Amazing? I was going to say terrifying, Marcus said. He pulled up a holographic display. Numbers scrolled past, most of them in colors Elena had never seen in an engineering report. Captain, this reactor is producing 300% more power than a standard coalition vessel of this size. 300%. And it's stable. Elena stared at the numbers. 3 times the power meant 3 times the speed. 3 times the weapon's capability. 3 times the shield strength. It meant the Prometheus could punch far above its weight class. Show me the catch, Elena said. There was always a catch. Marcus sighed. The power conduits. Human-designed conduits can't handle this much energy. They'll melt. We need to redesign the entire power distribution system using Azurian crystalline matrices. Do we have enough Azurian crystal? Barely. And it will take another month to integrate it properly. Do it, Elena said. What else? They walked through the ship as Marcus gave his report. The Prometheus was coming together, but it was like nothing any species had ever built. The hull used Vexnar armor plating reinforced with Crithian alloy weaving. The shield generators combined Azurian crystal matrices with human-designed redundancy systems. The weapons were a nightmare mix of 6 different technologies, and somehow, impossibly, it was working. Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka met them at the weapons bay. She looked exhausted, her black hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, dark circles under her eyes. But she was grinning. I figured it out, Yuki said without preamble. Figured what out? Elena asked. The Drell targeting computers. They're 300 years old, ancient. The Coalition thinks they're worthless. Yuki pulled up a holographic display showing complex targeting algorithms. But the Drell were hunters, predators. Their targeting systems don't just track movement, they predict it. They learn patterns. They adapt. And, Elena prompted. And I combined them with human artificial intelligence systems. The Coalition doesn't use AI for targeting. They think it's too unpredictable. Yuki's grin widened. They're right. It is unpredictable. For the enemy. Our targeting system will learn from every battle, adjust to every opponent. It gets smarter every time we fight. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. The Coalition had given them garbage. Broken parts from defeated enemies, obsolete technology from extinct wars. But piece by piece her crew was turning that garbage into something revolutionary. How long until full integration? Elena asked. 2 weeks for primary weapons. A month for secondary systems. Make it happen. The days blended together. Sleep became a luxury. Coffee became a food group. Dr. Sarah Kim set up a medical station in the corridor because crew members refused to leave their workstations for checkups. There were setbacks. A power surge destroyed 3 weeks of work on the shield emitters. A test fire of the railguns nearly blew a hole in the dock itself. 2 crew members were injured when a Crithian plasma coil overloaded, but they pushed forward. 4 months in, they had a visitor. Elena was reviewing structural reports when the proximity alarm sounded. A Coalition vessel was approaching, a small inspection ship, the kind used by regulatory officials. Everyone, Elena said over the intercom, her voice calm but urgent. Code Phantom. Now. The crew had drilled for this. Within minutes, the Prometheus was hidden behind hastily erected screens and holographic projectors. What appeared in its place was the decoy they had been building. A standard merchant vessel, boring and unremarkable. Inspector Valek was a Saris, a species known for their attention to detail and bureaucratic thoroughness. He floated through, the dock on anti-gravity supports, his 6 eyes scanning everything, recording devices embedded in his body capturing every detail. Captain Vasquez, Valek said in his buzzing voice. Routine inspection. Coalition Regulation 47B requires progress checks on all new construction projects. Of course, Inspector, Elena said, leading him toward the decoy ship. As you can see, we're making steady progress. Valek examined the merchant vessel with professional boredom. It was exactly what the Coalition expected, a simple cargo hauler built to standard specifications. Boring. Safe. Predictable. And your crew? Valek asked. Where are they? Most are off duty. Elena lied smoothly. We run a tight rotation to avoid fatigue. Behind a stack of crates, Marcus held his breath. Yuki had her hand over the mouth of a junior engineer who looked ready to panic. The entire crew was hidden throughout the dock, watching through cracks and gaps as the inspector completed his survey. Valak paused near a sealed section of the dock. What is behind this door? Storage, Elena said. Spare parts mostly. Would you like to see? No, Valak said after a moment. That will not be necessary. Your progress is adequate. Continue your work, Captain. The Coalition expects your vessel to be completed within 2 months. We'll do our best, Inspector. After he left, the crew emerged from hiding like ghosts. No one spoke until they were certain the inspector's ship had jumped to hyperspace. That was close, Marcus said, leaning against a bulkhead. Too close, Elena agreed. We need to accelerate the timeline. 5 months into the project, they ran their first full power test. The entire crew gathered in the control room, watching displays and monitors with held breath. Reactor at 20%, Marcus reported. The ship hummed, a deep vibration that resonated through the dock. 40%. The lights flickered. Power conduits glowed with barely contained energy. 60%. All systems stable, Yuki reported. Shield generators online. Weapons charging. 80%. The Prometheus came alive. Every system synchronized perfectly. The hybrid reactor sang with power. Shield bubbles formed around the hull, shimmering like soap bubbles but stronger than any known defensive system. Weapons arrays tracked invisible targets with predatory precision. 100%, Marcus said, his voice filled with awe. The numbers on the displays were impossible. The power output exceeded any Coalition vessel in the same weight class. The shields were adapting and regenerating faster than standard models. The weapons could track and target with accuracy that shouldn't exist. Elena looked at her crew. They were exhausted, pushed beyond any reasonable limit. They had taken 7 civilizations' worth of discarded technology and welded it into something new, something the galaxy had never seen. All systems nominal, Marcus reported. Captain, she's ready. No, Elena said quietly. We're not ready. Not for parade. Not for inspection. She paused, looking at the tactical display. But we're ready for something else. On the long-range sensors, an alert flashed. It was a distress signal, faint and desperate, from a Coalition colony world called Tarsus 4. What is it? Yuki asked. Elena pulled up the message. The words were simple, terrifying, and clear. Under attack. Devourers. Colony will fall. Send help. The Devourers. A race of machines that consumed entire worlds. The Coalition's greatest enemy. Every species feared them. Every fleet avoided them when possible. And a colony was dying. Marcus, Elena said. Status on life support systems? 63% functional. Some sections don't have full atmosphere yet. Weapons? 80%. Primary systems are solid. Navigation? Ready. Elena looked at her crew. They knew what she was thinking. The Prometheus wasn't ready. Not fully. Launching now was dangerous, possibly suicidal. But a colony was dying. People were dying. And they had the only ship in range that might make a difference. Crew to stations, Elena ordered. We're launching. Captain, Marcus said carefully. We haven't even done a proper test flight. Then this will be one hell of a test, Elena said. She sat in the captain's chair, feeling the ship respond to her presence. Plot a course for Tarsus 4. Maximum speed. The Prometheus shuddered as its engines fired for the first time. Power surged through systems that had never been used in real conditions. The hybrid reactor screamed with energy. The Prometheus dropped out of hyperspace into chaos. Tarsus 4 burned. The colony world's orbital stations were debris fields. 3 massive devourer ships, each one the size of a small moon, hung in space above the planet like metal vultures. They were firing continuously, their weapons tearing through the atmosphere, carving canyons into the surface below. The Coalition defense fleet was dying. Elena counted 12 Coalition warships down from what should have been 30. They were scattered, damaged, retreating in disorder. One exploded as she watched, its reactor breached by Devourer weapons. The survivors were running. Communications, Elena ordered. Get me the fleet commander. A face appeared on the screen. A Vexnar admiral named Zelkor. His metallic scales were scorched. One of his eyes was damaged and dark. Behind him, his bridge was on fire. This is Admiral Zelkor to unknown vessel. Evacuate immediately. This battle is lost. We are ordering full retreat. Admiral, this is Captain Elena Vasquez of the human vessel Prometheus. We're here to help. Zelkor's remaining eye focused on her. For a moment, he seemed too shocked to speak. The human scrap hauler? Captain, you have no weapons. No shields. You're flying a construction vessel. Get your people out of here now. With respect, Admiral, I don't take orders from you, Elena said calmly. And we're not a construction vessel anymore. Prometheus to all coalition ships, stand by for tactical coordination. She cut the channel before Zelkor could respond. Yuki, show me what we're dealing with, Elena said. The tactical display lit up. The 3 Devourer ships were massive, their hulls covered in adaptive armor that shifted and changed to deflect weapon impacts. They didn't maneuver like ships, they moved like living things, anticipating attacks flowing around incoming fire. Those are world ship-class vessels, Yuki said. Her voice was tight. Each one has enough firepower to crack a planet. The Coalition has never destroyed one. They can only drive them away with overwhelming force. Then it's a good thing we're not a standard Coalition ship, Elena said. Marcus status? Reactor at full power. Shields are holding, but I've never tested them in combat. Weapons are charged. Marcus paused. Captain, we're 1 ship against 3 world ships. The math doesn't work. The math never works for humans, Elena said. That's why we're good at this. Yuki, can your targeting system track them? Yuki's fingers flew over her console. Yes. The Drell computers are reading their movement patterns. Their predictive algorithms are adapting. Captain, I think I can anticipate their maneuvers. Good, because we're going to do something stupid. Elena leaned forward in her chair. We're going straight at the nearest one. Full speed, all weapons. The bridge was silent for a heartbeat. Aye, Captain, the helmsman said. The Prometheus accelerated. The hybrid reactor poured impossible amounts of energy into the engines. They moved faster than any ship their size should move, faster than the Devourers expected. Alarms screamed as the nearest world ship turned toward them. Its weapons fired, beams of coherent energy that could vaporize standard Coalition armor. The beam struck the Prometheus's shields. The shields held. Shield integrity at 78%, Marcus reported, his voice filled with disbelief. The Azurian matrices are adapting. They're learning the enemy's weapon frequency. Firing, Yuki said. The Prometheus's main guns roared to life. They weren't elegant. They weren't sophisticated. They were human railguns, simple magnetic acceleration, nothing more. But they were powered by a hybrid reactor that produced 3 times normal output. And they fired projectiles made from Vexnar combat alloys. The projectiles hit the Devourer world ship at a significant fraction of light speed. They punched through adaptive armor that Coalition plasma weapons had barely scorched. They tore into the ship's hull, through internal bulkheads, through processing cores. The world ship shuddered. A section of its hull exploded outward, venting atmosphere and debris. Target damaged, Yuki reported. Hull breach on multiple decks. They're trying to compensate. Hit them again, Elena ordered. The Prometheus dove past the world ship, firing continuously. Railgun slugs tore into the wounded vessel. Missile clusters, using both human and Crythian designs, followed, each one finding weak points identified by the adaptive targeting system. The Devourer ship began to list. Its weapons fired wildly, missing the Prometheus as it danced away. Admiral Zelkor is hailing us, communications reported. Elena didn't take her eyes off the tactical display. Put him through. Captain Vasquez. Zelkor's voice was different now, sharp with renewed hope. What kind of weapons are those? You're penetrating their armor. Kinetic projectiles, Admiral. Accelerated to extreme velocities using hybrid power systems. The Devourer's adaptive armor is designed to disperse energy weapons. It doesn't work as well against solid mass moving at near light speed. There was a pause. You're shooting bullets at them. Very fast bullets, Admiral. And it's working. Elena pulled up a fleet-wide channel. All Coalition vessels, this is the Prometheus. The Devourers can adapt to your weapons, but they need time. Hit them with everything at once. Don't give them time to adjust. Focus fire on the damaged world ship. Follow our lead. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Zelkor's voice cut across the channel. All ships, you heard the human. Battle formation Delta 7. Focus fire on the wounded target. Now, the Coalition fleet rallied. 12 damaged ships. Ships that had been running moments before turned and charged. They followed the Prometheus's path, pouring weapons fire into the wounded Devourer. The world ship tried to adapt. Its armor shifted, reformed, compensated, but it was too slow. Too much damage. Too many different weapon types hitting it simultaneously. The hull breached in a dozen places. Internal explosions rippled through its structure, and then it died. The world ship broke apart in a silent cascade of fire and metal. Debris scattered across space, propelled by the force of its own exploding power cores. 1 down. 2 to go. Captain, Marcus said urgently. Shield strength at 40%. We took more damage than I thought. And the reactor is running hot. We're pushing systems beyond their design limits. How long can we last? Unknown. I've never tested this. No one has. The 2 remaining Devourer ships changed tactics. They stopped firing at the Coalition fleet. They focused everything on the Prometheus. Beams of energy converged from 2 directions, bracketing the human ship in a crossfire. Evasive maneuvers, Elena ordered. The Prometheus twisted, rolled, dove. The human pilot, trained to tolerate high-G maneuvers that would kill most alien species, pushed the ship through impossible turns. Devourer weapons fire missed by meters, but not all of it. A beam grazed the starboard hull. Armor evaporated. Internal bulkheads melted. 6 crew members died instantly. Atmosphere vented from 3 decks before emergency seals engaged. Shields at 20%, Marcus reported. Captain, we need to pull back. No, Elena said. If we run, the colony dies. Everyone dies. Yuki, can you target their power cores? Not from this distance. And I'd need a clear shot. Elena made a decision. It was reckless. It was desperate. It was human. All power to engines, she ordered. Everything. Life support, weapons, shields. Everything goes to engines. Captain, that's insane, Marcus said. We'll be defenseless and we'll also be fast. Do it. Marcus hesitated for only a second. Then his hands moved across his console. Power flooded from every system into the engines. The Prometheus accelerated harder than any organic crew should survive. Only the ship's internal dampeners, working overtime, kept them from being crushed. They shot forward like a missile, straight at the nearest Devourer world ship. They're targeting us, Yuki reported. Weapons locked on, firing. Hold steady, Elena said through gritted teeth. The Devourer weapons fired. Without shields, without defensive systems, the beams struck the Prometheus's hull directly. Armor melted, deck plating peeled away. But the ship kept moving, kept accelerating, kept closing the distance. 2,000 meters, the helmsman counted down. 1,000. 500. Marcus, restore power to weapons, Elena ordered. Emergency override. Now, power restored. Fire everything. At point-blank range, the Prometheus unleashed every weapon it had. Railguns, missiles, plasma cannons, energy beams. 6 different civilizations' worth of weapons technology, all firing at once, all hitting the same spot. The Devourer world ship's armor couldn't adapt fast enough. The weapons punched through its hull and into its core systems. Secondary explosions rippled through its structure. Its power cores destabilized. Pull up, Elena shouted. The Prometheus veered away, engines screaming. Behind it, the second world ship exploded, its death throes tearing a hole in space itself. 2 down, 1 left, but the Prometheus was dying too. Half the ship was open to space. The reactor was critical. Crew members were unconscious from G-forces. The shields were gone. The weapons were depleted. The third world ship is retreating, Yuki reported. It's jumping to hyperspace. On the tactical display, the last Devourer ship flickered and vanished. Victory. At terrible cost. Admiral Zelkor's face appeared on the screen. His expression was unreadable. Captain Vasquez, you saved this colony. You saved 4 million lives. He paused. You destroyed 2 world ship-class vessels. The Coalition has been trying to do that for 50 years. Elena looked around her bridge. Half her stations were unmanned. Smoke filled the air. The council chamber was designed to intimidate. It was vast, circular, with the representatives of 43 species seated in tiers that rose toward a domed ceiling. At the center, alone and exposed, stood a single platform for those being judged. Elena Vasquez stood on that platform and refused to look small. Around her, the gallery was filled with observers. News drones from a dozen different media networks hovered at the edges, recording everything. This wasn't just a hearing, it was a spectacle. Ambassador Thelnak stood at the prosecutor's position, his chitinous body gleaming under the chamber lights. He looked pleased with himself. "Council members," Thelnax began, his translator rendering his clicks into sharp, accusatory words. "We are here to address a grave violation of coalition law. Captain Elena Vasquez and her crew knowingly violated construction protocols. They combined incompatible technologies without proper oversight. They created a vessel that, by all calculations, should have destroyed itself and everyone aboard. A holographic display appeared above the chamber floor, showing the Prometheus. The ship looked like a patchwork nightmare. Different hull sections, mismatched systems, technologies from 7 different species welded together. Worse, Thelnax continued. They then took this unstable vessel into combat without authorization. They endangered coalition forces. They ignored direct orders from a superior officer." He turned to face Elena. "Captain Vasquez, your recklessness could have resulted in the deaths of thousands." Elena wanted to speak. She wanted to defend herself, her crew, her ship, but coalition protocol was clear. During formal proceedings, only council members and designated speakers could address the chamber. The accused could not speak in their own defense unless invited, and no one was inviting her to speak. A Crithian counselor, her carapace marked with age and authority, spoke next. "The human vessel's design violates 17 separate construction codes. The combination of Crithian plasma systems with Vexnar magnetic technology alone is expressly forbidden. Such combinations are dangerous." "Dangerous and reckless," added a Vexnar counselor, his metallic voice echoing through the chamber. "The humans were given materials to study and learn from. Instead, they built a weapon without understanding the consequences." More voices joined in, each one cataloging humanity's failures, each one listing the violations, each one explaining why humans had proven themselves unworthy of coalition membership. Elena stood silent, forced to listen as her entire mission was dismantled piece by piece. Behind her, in the observer section, her crew sat watching. Marcus's face was red with anger. Yuki's hands were clenched into fists. Dr. Kim was shaking her head in disbelief. "Furthermore," Thelnak said, building to his conclusion, "the humans have demonstrated a fundamental disregard for coalition authority. They are a dangerous species, prone to reckless experimentation. I move that humanity be expelled from the coalition, and that the vessel Prometheus be decommissioned and properly recycled." "Seconded," the Crithian counselor said immediately. The council began to vote. Elena watched the display board as votes registered. One by one, green lights appeared, votes for expulsion. Out of 43 species, 37 voted yes within the first minute. It was over. Humanity had been given a chance among the stars, and they were about to lose it. All because they had dared to succeed in their own way. The chamber doors burst open. Admiral Zelkor strode in, his damaged eye replaced with a mechanical prosthetic that glowed with red light. He moved with purpose, his armored boots ringing on the chamber floor. Behind him came a dozen other coalition officers, all survivors of Tarsus Fordern Council. Zelkor said, his voice cutting through the proceedings. "I invoke the Warrior's Testament." The chamber fell silent. The Warrior's Testament was an ancient coalition law, rarely used, dating back to the founding days when the coalition was formed from warrior cultures. It stated that any being who had defended coalition lives in combat had the right to speak before the council, regardless of rank or protocol. The head counselor, an ancient Saris named Velkan, leaned forward. "Admiral Zelkor, you invoke ancient law. Are you certain?" "I am," Zelkor said. "I fought beside the human vessel Prometheus. I witnessed its capabilities, and I will not allow this council to condemn it without hearing the full truth." Velkan considered this. "Very well. The Warrior's Testament is granted. Speak, Admiral." Zelkor turned to face the assembled council. 4 million people are alive because of the Prometheus. My fleet was in retreat. We had lost half our ships. The Devourer world ships were systematically destroying Tarsus IV. In another hour, the colony would have been lost. Every living thing on that planet would have been consumed. He activated his own holographic display. Combat footage appeared. The Prometheus charging into battle, its weapons tearing through Devourer armor, the moment when the first world ship exploded. "This is not instability," Zelkor said. "This is innovation. The humans did what we told them was impossible. They took our discarded technology, pieces we had written off as worthless, and created something revolutionary." "They created something dangerous," Thelnax interjected. "They combined technologies that were never meant to work together." "Yes," Zelkor agreed. "And it worked better than anything we've built in 200 years. Their railguns penetrated Devourer adaptive armor. Their shields adapted to enemy weapons in real time. Their targeting systems predicted enemy movements with unprecedented accuracy." Another counselor spoke up, a reptilian named Sara, who served as the Coalition's defense minister. "Admiral, you're letting emotion cloud your judgment. One lucky battle doesn't prove—" "It wasn't luck," Zelkor interrupted. "It was skill. It was courage. And it was desperation. The humans took what we gave them, our garbage, our refuse, and turned it into the most effective combat vessel I've ever seen." He paused, letting his words sink in. "And while we sit here debating protocol violations, the Devourers are still out there. They're getting stronger. They're attacking more frequently. And we're losing." Sara straightened in her seat. "What are you suggesting, Admiral?" "I'm suggesting that maybe we've been building ships wrong," Zelkor said. "Every species in this coalition builds according to their own traditions. Krithians use Krithian technology. Vexnar use Vexnar technology. We never combine them because we assume they're incompatible. But the humans proved that assumption wrong." He turned to look at Elena. "They proved a lot of our assumptions wrong." Sara pulled up her own display, accessing classified military data. Her expression grew troubled as she read. "Council, I've been reviewing recent Devourer encounters. Admiral Zelkor is correct. Attack frequency has increased 47% in the last year. Our defensive victories have decreased by 32%. At current trends," she paused. "At current trends, we'll lose territory to the Devourers within 5 years." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. This was information most council members didn't have access to. "We need better ships," Sara continued. "Better weapons, better tactics, and perhaps," she looked at the image of the Prometheus, "perhaps we need to think differently about how we build them." "You can't be suggesting we adopt human methods," Thelnax said, his voice rising. "Their ship violated every safety protocol. It could have exploded at any moment, but it didn't," Zelkor said. "It fought, it won. And it saved millions of lives. Once," Thelnax insisted. "One battle, one lucky engagement. That proves nothing." "Then let them prove it again," Sara said. She stood, her scales catching the light. "I move for an alternative to expulsion. Give humanity 6 months. Let them build more vessels using their integration methods. If these vessels perform as well as the Prometheus, we adopt their techniques fleet-wide. If they fail, we proceed with expulsion." The chamber erupted in debate. Some counselors shouted in agreement. Others protested. Thelnax's mandibles clicked furiously as he argued against the motion, but Sara held firm and slowly the mood began to shift. Velkan raised a hand, calling for silence. "We will vote. All in favor of Defense Minister Sara's proposal?" The voting board lit up again. This time the results were closer. 24 green lights, 19 red lights. It took several long seconds, but finally the decision was made. "The motion passes," Velkan announced. "Humanity will have 6 months to demonstrate the viability of their integration methods. They will build additional vessels. They will submit to oversight and inspection. And at the end of 6 months, this council will reconvene to evaluate the results." Elena felt something loosen in her chest. It wasn't complete victory. They were still on trial, still being tested. But they had a chance. Velkan turned to face her directly. "Captain Vasquez, you may speak, finally." Elena took a breath. "Council members, we didn't set out to break your rules. We set out to solve a problem. You gave us parts that didn't fit together and we made them fit. That's what humans do. We improvise, we adapt. We make impossible things work because we don't know they're supposed to be impossible." She gestured to her crew in the observer section. "My people spent 6 months in a forgotten dock working 18-hour days, risking their lives to prove we belonged here. We took your garbage and built something that saved millions of lives. We'll do it again, and again." The Andara Nebula had been beautiful once. Now it was a graveyard. Elena stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, fully repaired and upgraded, watching the tactical display. Around her ship, 6 more vessels held formation, the rest of the Prometheus class. 7 ships total, 7 different crews, 7 variations on the same impossible design. Each one built from garbage, each one deadly. Contact in 30 seconds, Yuki reported. Devourer fleet emerging from hyperspace. Elena opened a channel to the other 6 captains. All Prometheus vessels, this is Vasquez. Remember your training. Remember why we're here. They think we're just humans. Let's remind them what that means. The Devourer fleet arrived like a plague. 200 ships. World ships, destroyers, fighters. A swarm of metal and malice designed to consume everything in its path. They were heading for the Coalition core worlds, the heart of galactic civilization. If they broke through here, millions would die. The Coalition defense fleet numbered 400 ships. It should have been enough. It wasn't. All ships, this is Admiral Zelkor. The Vexnar's voice came over the fleet channel. Battle formation Alpha. Engage at will. The 2 fleets collided. Space filled with weapons fire, explosions, and dying ships. Within the first 5 minutes, the Coalition lost 30 vessels. The Devourers lost only 3. They're adapting, Yuki said, watching her tactical display. Every time our ships fire, the Devourers adjust their defenses. Their adaptive algorithms are processing faster than before. Elena had expected this. The Devourers learned from every battle. They improved. They evolved. That was what made them so deadly. Standard Coalition tactics meant predictable attacks. Predictable attacks meant the Devourers could adapt. And once they adapted, they won. All Prometheus vessels, Elena said. Execute pattern chaos. It was a strategy that made Coalition tacticians nervous. There was no formation. No coordination. No predictable attack pattern. Each of the 7 Prometheus-class ships was different. Different weapons, different capabilities, different tactics. And now they were all doing their own thing. The Prometheus itself dove into the Devourer line, railguns blazing. Its weapons punched through 3 enemy fighters before they could react. The shields, still learning and adapting from the battle at Tarsus 4, deflected return fire with growing efficiency. The second ship, commanded by Captain Rodriguez, hung back and became the fleet's eyes. Its enhanced sensor suite, built from Drell hunting technology, tracked every Devourer ship. It fed targeting data to the entire Coalition fleet, predicting enemy movements before they happened. The third ship deployed mines, not standard Coalition ordnance, but hybrid devices combining Crithian energy nets with Vexnar magnetic triggers and human proximity sensors. Devourers that entered the minefield found themselves caught in weapons they had never encountered before, weapons their algorithms couldn't predict. Coalition fleet is taking heavy losses, the communications officer reported. 48 ships destroyed, 72 damaged. Tell Admiral Zelkor to focus on the command nodes, Elena said. The Devourers are networked. Take out their commanders and the rest lose coordination. But finding the command nodes was nearly impossible. Devourer fleets hid their commanders among hundreds of identical ships. It was like finding specific needles in a haystack made of needles. Except humanity had brought a magnet. Captain Chen. Elena called to the 4th Prometheus vessel. You're up. Captain Marcus Chen, yes, the same Marcus promoted to his own command, grinned from his bridge screen. Finally. Initiating electromagnetic pulse sweep. His ship fired a modified pulse not strong enough to disable Coalition vessels, but perfectly calibrated to detect the unique power signatures of Devourer command ships. They lit up on the tactical display like beacons. Targets marked, Marcus reported, sending coordinates to all vessels. The Coalition fleet concentrated fire on the command nodes. Without predictable attack patterns, without giving the Devourers time to adapt, the coordinated assault worked. 1 command ship exploded. Then another. Then 3 more. The Devourer fleet's coordination faltered. Ships that had been moving in perfect synchronization suddenly hesitated, adjusted, tried to compensate for missing commanders. They're vulnerable, Yuki said. 30-second window before they reorganize. All ships, maximum assault, Zelkor ordered. The Coalition fleet pressed forward. The tide of battle began to turn. Devourer ships that had seemed unstoppable minutes ago were now taking damage, falling back, trying to adapt to an enemy that wouldn't fight predictably. But the Devourers weren't defeated. They were learning. Their remaining command nodes adjusted tactics, sending their largest ships, 3 massive world ships, directly at the Prometheus vessels. "They've identified us as the primary threat," Elena said. She wasn't surprised. The Prometheus class stood out. They moved differently, fought differently, broke all the rules. Of course, the Devourers wanted them dead. "Captain," Marcus called from his ship, "those world ships are heading straight for us. If we scatter, they'll pick us off one by one." "Then we don't scatter," Elena said. A crazy idea formed. "All Prometheus vessels form up on me." "Tight formation." "Captain, that makes us an easy target," Yuki protested. "Exactly," Elena said. "I want their attention. All of it." The 7 human ships converged, creating a formation that would make any coalition tactician have a heart attack. They were too close together, an easy target for area weapons. But that was the point. The 3 world ships focused all their weapons on the clustered human vessels. Beams of energy, powerful enough to vaporize moons, converged on the Prometheus formation. "Now," Elena shouted. The 7 ships scattered like an exploding star, each one moving in a different direction at maximum speed. Human pilots, trained to tolerate G-forces that would kill most species, pushed their ships through maneuvers that physics said shouldn't be possible. The Devourer weapons fire hit empty space, and the Prometheus vessels, now positioned around the 3 world ships, opened fire from all sides simultaneously. 7 different weapon systems, 7 different approaches to warfare, all hitting at once. The Devourer's adaptive algorithms couldn't handle it. There were too many variables, too many different technologies, too many unpredictable attacks. The first world ship's shields collapsed. Human railguns punched into its hull. Crithian plasma weapons melted through its armor. Vexnar missiles exploited every weakness. The ship came apart like a puzzle being disassembled. 1 down, Marcus reported. 2 to go, but the Prometheus itself was in trouble. The maneuvers had pushed the ship beyond its design limits. Systems were failing. The hybrid reactor was critical. Half the crew was unconscious from extreme G-forces. "Captain," the chief engineer reported, "we need to pull back. If we keep this up, the ship will tear itself apart." Elena looked at the tactical display. The Coalition fleet was winning now, but barely. If she pulled back, if the other Prometheus vessels pulled back, the Devourers would recover. They would adapt. And millions would die. "Negative," Elena said. "All power to weapons. Everything we have left. Captain, that includes life support, environmental systems, emergency power." "I know," Elena said. "Do it." The Prometheus went dark. Only the emergency lighting remained. The air grew cold as heating systems shut down, but the weapons charged with more power than they were ever designed to handle. "Firing," Yuki said. The ship unleashed everything, every weapon, every system, every innovation her crew had built into its impossible design. For 10 seconds, the Prometheus became the brightest thing in space. A star made of human defiance and alien technology welded together through sheer stubborn will. The second world ship exploded, then the third, and then the Prometheus went silent. No power, no weapons, no shields. Drifting in space like a dead thing, but the Devourer fleet was broken. With their world ships destroyed and their command structure shattered, the remaining ships fled into hyperspace, abandoning the battle. Silence filled the communications channels. Then slowly, cheers began. Coalition ships that had been dying minutes ago were celebrating. They had won. Against impossible odds, they had won. Admiral Zelkor's face appeared on every screen in the fleet. "All ships, ceasefire. The battle is won," he paused. "And I want every vessel to salute the Prometheus. She saved us all." 400 coalition ships turned to face the drifting human vessel. In a tradition older than the coalition itself, they flashed their lights in unison, a warrior's salute, given only to the bravest of the brave. 6 months later, Elena stood in the council chamber again. But this time, she wasn't alone on the judgment platform. 7 captains stood with her. 7 crews, 7 ships that had changed everything. Velkan, the head counselor, spoke to the assembled representatives. "The Council has reviewed the combat data from the Battle of Andara Nebula. We have studied the Prometheus-class vessels, and we have made our decision." Elena held her breath. "Humanity is granted full coalition membership," Velkan announced. "Furthermore, the hybrid integration method will be adopted as standard practice across all coalition military construction. Captain Vasquez, you are promoted to Admiral and tasked with establishing a new warfare academy to teach these techniques to all species. The chamber erupted in applause. Even Thelnax was clicking his mandibles in approval.